What a great time of the year to do yoga. This is my favorite season, period. It's so great to do it because we don't have to worry about the heat or the cold, really. It's just that perfect in-between space, you know. When I took my very first yoga class more than 20 years ago, I kind of walked out of class thinking, like, what was that, really? I mean, it was at the gym, so it had some sort of like physical workout component to it. But even at the gym, there's this great kind of, not explicit, but kind of a spiritual sort of thing. It was very meditative, to be sure, but it kind of kicked my butt a little bit. It was kind of intense. And I think, 20 years later, I'm still kind of asking that question, what is that? What is yoga? And every time I think I kind of have yoga kind of nailed down, kind of what I think it is, really, the parameters of what this thing is, I experience something or think about something and the thing expands. So I did some trainings, whatever, started teaching after a while, and I got this opportunity to run over to Croatia and teach yoga at the studio in Croatia for like 6 weeks. And what they were doing is they were hiring U.S. teachers to come over there because they wanted kind of like the New York style yoga stuff happening. And I had taken some power yoga training, so I was qualified for the job. And so they were really interested in this like upbeat, vibrant kind of stuff. Well, I just finished a training that had taken everything I knew about kind of power yoga, right, and added this beautiful energetic and spiritual and meditative element to it. So I kind of felt like I had a broader picture of what yoga was. And I, up to that point, it was like, really cool poses, and then it was really cool poses with cool alignment, and now it was cool poses with good alignment and breath and meditation and spiritual, So I kind of had this feeling for what it was going to be. And I remember taking a train into town and meeting the owner of the studio. Met me at the train station, and she showed me my apartment, and she said, it's going to be standing room only tonight. Everybody's really excited for the new yoga teacher. I was going to be the only yoga teacher for 6 weeks, and so everybody was thrilled to come over, and take this class from the new teacher, right? So, it was like a 5-hour train ride to Zagreb in Croatia, and I planned meticulously every word that I was going to say and how everything was going to all play out. And as I'm leading this, what I was thinking was amazing yoga class, right? Felt like I was just knocking it out of the park. Started with some great breathing techniques, kind of a non-denominational but quasi-spiritual message, and led them through some great poses. I'm like, they're going to give me Croatian citizenship for being so awesome at teaching yoga here. This is it. And, after that class, I thought I taught a really great class, right? The studio owner invites me to the studio the next day to sit me down and say, that is exactly how we do not teach yoga in the studio. She said, people didn't work all day long to come to yoga to have somebody tell them to breathe. As if breath was the stupidest idea you could ever think of, right? And I was crushed, right? Because I thought, why did you hire me? Why did you fly me all the way out here if you knew what we were going to do, right? She gives me a list of poses she wants in every class. She gives me a list of the hip hop CDs she wants me to play in every class, right? And I'm just I kind of crushed my spirit a little bit, But she's paying the bills and she's paying my flight home, so I better kind of toe the line. I remember there was this one night in class when everybody in the studio was super athletic and they just wanted to go hot and hard in every one of the poses, which wasn't my style. I was talking about preparing for postures and the evolution of poses and what it means on the grander scheme. They weren't interested in any of that. They just wanted to go hard and wanted to get forearm handstand as quick as possible. I'm like, well, yeah, but you could totally blow out your shoulder. I remember there's this moment when it was late at night. It was a level 2 class, like a Wednesday night that started from 8:30 to 10. So it was super late in the evening. People are cranking in poses. The music is cranked, and literally is that song. It's getting hot in here. Let's take off all our clothes. And I'm like, how did I get here? What happened in my life such that I am here doing this thing, And later I was bemoaning this fact. I'd come home and everything was fine. I actually enjoyed my experience there, particularly in retrospect. But I was complaining to one of my teachers, and I said, can you believe what they were making me do? And they called that yoga. I had this very, uppity opinion about what this was, right? And, in his wisdom, he kind of sits back and he thinks about it. It's like, that was probably exactly the kind of yoga they needed. And my mind kind of exploded to think that yoga could be large enough to even be like that kind of yoga too. And I stopped being so precious about what yoga was. And I think whenever we get into something that we're trying to define, we want to first narrow its definition, because yoga is this, but it is not that, right? And then I think the more we learn about something, there's this hourglass moment that opens up where you start to look around to really see what isn't yoga in these broad definitions. Because I also love to practice yoga nidra, right? That's yoga nidra, and it's really akin to like guided napping, right? There's no poses involved unless shavasana is a pose. But that's part of yoga too. So how do you hold hip hop yoga and yoga napping in the same circle? And so the way I define yoga to kind of hold up that entire, container is simply the practice of discovering who I am through listening. And maybe I'm listening to poses, maybe I'm listening to my breath or my mind or something, but presence is really key. So as we go through our practice today, we're going to be doing poses today. No hip hop, sorry, but you can do your own hip hop at home when you listen to the recording. I was listening to the Beastie Boys, Licensed to Ill, all the way down here, so I've got like Beastie Boys fresh in my mind. So hip hop optional, but we are going to move through some poses. It's going to be great. And one thing I want to do in our shavasana is I want to lead us through a sanctuary practice, which is like a guided meditation akin to yoga nidra, an element that I use in yoga nidra, so we can gain some greater presence through total chill-outedness. All right? For anybody who's here, does anybody have any requests for poses? Anybody looking for anything in particular from yoga practice today? Some neck stuff? Great, I love it. Let's sit up nice and tall. Set your thumb and first finger together. Take a deep breath in through the nostrils. Open your mouth, let a gentle sigh go out your mouth. Again, in through the nostrils. This time, hold your breath a little bit. And then breathe out through your mouth again. Let's begin an Ujjayi breath now. I think if we were to look at a lot of our practices that we do that kind of look to define who we are, or kind of move us along our progression in body, mind, or spirit, I think one of the common denominators in all the practices is just paying attention. And so that's what we're doing right off the bat. We're just paying attention to something as simple as breath. As you feel the texture of your breath and hear the sound of your breath, see if you can be nothing but right here. If you'd like to join me for an Om, we'll start our practice with an Om. You're always welcome to listen if you prefer. If you want to join me, put your palms together, hands at your heart. Let's breathe in. With your hands together, slide your hands up across your sternum, across the bridge of your nose and your forehead, and reach your arms to the sky. Accompany this with a big inhale. Open your hands up. And when you exhale, bring your hands together and slide them back down across your forehead and bridge of your nose back down to your sternum. With your seat firmly rooted, inhale, reach your arms forward now and open up your arms into a big kind of capacious arm opening. Bring your hands back together and back to heart on the exhale. Up again, reach to the sky. Exhale, back down to heart. Inhale, open it up, and then back to heart. Inhale, reach back up to the sky, and mirroring me, put your right hand to the floor and lean over. Find a stretch through your left ribs, and kind of toy around with this. Maybe tilt your armpit slightly up to the sky, or tilt your armpit slightly down toward the floor. You might even find cradling the back of your head with your hand, and pulling your head into your hand to be a little supportive. And then reach both arms back up toward the sky. Big inhale. As you lean over to the other side, find a stretch on this side. And if it serves you, maybe bend your top elbow, cradling your head in your hand. Pull your head back a little bit. I get a little extra stretch down my right ribs when I do it like that. Good. Bring it back to neutral. Send your left arm straight up to the sky. Turn your palm back so you externally rotate the arm, bend the elbow, and put your hand around your fingertips to shoulder blade. Put your other elbow up to, or hand to elbow. Push up into the elbow, and then press the back of your head into your forearm. Kind of gives you a little back bend. And then you're going to mirror this by drawing your tailbone downward toward the floor. Kind of mitigate some of your back bend. Careful if you've got a sensitive neck. Now there's this little divot, there's kind of this bony protuberance right behind the back of your right ear, and just below that, right where your skull meets your neck, is a little divot. You want to put your fingertips right in that divot and kind of hold the back of your head as you tilt it over to the side. So check this out. I'm going to reach my arm off like this. And so it almost reaches the floor, but not quite. My head's resting in my hand, and I'm going for this nice stretch down these side neck muscles. The scalenes, the sternocleidomastoid, all those neck muscles that run down the side here. Keep your head where it is. Slide your hand to the bottom side, your cheek side of your face, and press your head back up to neutral. Other arm goes up, turns fingertips to shoulder blade as your other hand moves to elbow. Push elbow to hand. Pull the back of your head into your forearm as you root your sitting bones down into your mat. Perfect. Deep breaths. Now, as you're holding this and every pose, the simple question is, well, what am I most paying attention to? How is this pose inviting me into deeper attention? And then you're going to hold the back of your head, kind of tilt over to your other side as you reach your left arm off to the side. Left arm almost, you kind of reaches in the direction of the floor, and let the weight of your arm kind of pull the stretch down through your neck, down through your shoulder. Really good. Now keep your head where it is. Put your hand to the underside of your head. Press your head back up to neutral. And then let's come to a hands and knees pose. Still mirroring your breath with some movement. Inhale, lean chest forward. Find a little cat-cow action as you exhale. Then draw your tailbone under. Push hands to the floor. Spread through your shoulder blades. Inhale again as your chest leans forward. Find a stretch through the belly. And exhale, move back and forth like this. Now again, there's certainly a therapeutic benefit to doing this, to be sure. That might even be our explicit intention for this posture. Nonetheless, this is another wonderful opportunity simply to practice paying attention, a filter through which we get a chance to really experience listening. So listen to how your shoulders are doing, how your hips are doing. If there's any kind of sensitive spots, any spots that might feel nice and energetic. The next time you exhale, round your spine, lower as much as you care to in child's pose. So hips to heels, and again, you can stick with cat-cow position if knees aren't compliant. You're going to come back to hands and knees pose on the inhale, and back to child's on the exhale. You're going to go back and forth between these two, and feel how the action works here. Spine, shoulders, hips, knees, even ankles are all kind of playing part of this. And remember, I celebrate improvisation, so that if you want to change this up in any way, feel free to make this totally your own posture. Follow your breath. Good. Yeah, I like seeing the slight variations. It's excellent. It's really excellent. The next time you come to hands and knees pose, reach your right arm toward the sky in a twist. And as you exhale, we're going to thread the needle just for the exhale. And you're going to come all the way back up. Reach your right arm toward the sky again. Big inhale. And then exhale, come back to hands and knees pose. Now, left arm reaches to the sky. Inhale. And then thread the needle. Exhale. Inhale, lefty goes back to the sky. And back to hands and knees pose. Okay, so one more time on each side. Inhale, raise your right arm to the sky. Exhale, thread the needle. Good. Inhale, reach it all the way back up. And hands and knees pose. Last time, last side. Lefty is going to reach up when you're ready. Inhale. Thread the needle on your exhale. Bring it all back up. Inhale. And come back home to hands and knees pose. Lift into a downward facing dog pose, everybody. Knees nice and bent. Spread your fingers wide so you get a nice broad grip with your fingertips to the floor. And I want to explore rolling through all the joints from toes to ankles to knees to hips, through each vertebra all the way to your shoulders. So what you're going to do is you're going to inhale and bend your knees enough that your thighs almost touch your belly. Point your tailbone straight up to the sky and even look up to your hands. Feel like your whole belly is kind of dipping toward the floor. Then on an exhale, straighten your legs, come up onto tiptoes, tuck your tailbone in, roll most of the way into plank position. Really round your spine. Yes, I'm good. Then roll back into the bent kneed down dog thing. Excellent. Nice, Meg. And then roll through almost to plank, or you can go all the way to plank if you want. Keep doing this back and forth and really get into the kind of that worm-like action of articulating each of the joints, the toes, the ankles, the knees. Really tuck the tail as you roll through each vertebra. Good, and then the next time you come to plank pose, hold that position for a couple of breaths. For some of us, this really lights our fire, really gets us going. It feels great to hold a little bit of core strengthening postures. Others of us, not our jam. You're always welcome to bring your knees to the floor. But if you're cool with it, let's hold plank for maybe 3 more breaths. Feel as if your shoulder blades are kind of pulling toward each other. And a lengthening is happening both forward through the crown of your head and back through your heels. Slightly look forward beyond your mat, not much, and then exhale, lower slowly down to chaturanga. Come all the way down to your belly. We're going to roll through a cobra pose dynamically. So inhale, peel into cobra, come up, and then as you exhale, lower back down, belly, chest, and chin back down to the mat. Mostly shoulders are working here. Back to cobra, inhale. Exhale, lowering back down. Good. Keep going, inhale. Good. As you're coming up and down, follow the rhythm of your breath and make this yours, right? You could have your hands further back toward your hips. You could bring your hands out wider, maybe up onto fingertips, right? Head is kind of just along for the ride here. It's really your upper back that's doing the work. Yeah, good. Now the next time you come up into cobra, pause and hold the upright version of cobra. Turn your head slow motion side to side. This is another one of my favorite things to do with the neck. Keep the breath going. Good. Neutralize your head and lift back into downward facing dog pose. As you look forward to your hands, inhale and step your right foot forward between your hands. Bring your left knee all the way down to the floor and give yourself a little stretch in the left groin. So we're taking our time to kind of warm up through a lot of these poses, and then progressively through this practice, we'll make it a little bit more fluid, a little bit more intense, but we'll have hopefully the energy moving that doesn't feel too much. Plant your palms, slide back to downward facing dog pose. Okay, bring your other foot forward between your hands. Drop your right knee down to the mat for a little groin stretch on this side. Good. Good, I like it. Now you're going to lean forward into your front foot. Give yourself this big fat step so that your right foot comes forward to meet your left. And then swing your arms forward and up to the sky. A little arch in your back. As you exhale, bring your palms first parallel to the floor and then hands to heart. Let's go through a classical sun salutation. Forward and up again on the inhale, a little arch in your spine. As you exhale, dive forward, Uttanasana. Step your right leg back to a kneeling lunge position, inhale. As you exhale, plant your palms, slide your feet back into down dog. Big knuckles of the big toes touch. Inhale, lift your heels up, roll into plank like you're already practiced doing. Touch your knees to the mat, keep your butt in the air. Drop your chest and chin to the mat. Kind of funky chaturanga. Roll your shoulders back into cobra as you drop your hips. Then lift back, downward facing dog pose. Looking forward, step your left foot forward to hands. Drop your right knee to the mat just for a second. Then take that big step, right foot comes forward to meet your left foot. As you inhale, stand all the way up and reach to the sky with a little arch in your back before bringing your arms parallel and back to your heart. So here goes left side, forward and up on the inhale. Dive forward on your exhale. Step your left leg back, kneeling lunge position, inhale. Plant your palms as you slide your feet back into down dog. Lift up your heels, roll to plank, inhale. And then knees, chest, and chin on the exhale. Keep your hips in the air. Inhale, move into cobra. Exhale, lift back to down dog. Look forward, right foot forward to hands. Left knee touches the mat. Give yourself a big step forward so the left knee comes forward to meet the right. Stand all the way up. Inhale, arch your spine a little bit, and then exhale, hands back to heart. One more time, forward and up, inhale. Dive forward on your exhale. Nice, Lisa. Step your right leg back, kneeling lunge, inhale. Left foot comes back to down dog, exhale. Roll into a plank pose, breathe in. Then exhale, knees, chest, and chin. Cobra, inhale, open up your chest. And exhale, lift back into downward facing dog pose. Go left foot forward, right knee touches. Step your right foot forward to meet your left foot. Nice, Chris. Stand all the way up, big breath, reach to the sky, little arch in your back. And exhale, hands to heart. Bring it at home. Last one, bring it up, inhale. Dive forward on your exhale. Step your left leg back to a kneeling lunge pose. Right foot comes back to follow for down dog position. Lift up and roll into plank position. Really nice, Sam. Knees, chest, and chin on the exhale. And cobra. Inhale, open up your heart to downward facing dog on your exhale. Here we go. Right foot forward on the inhale. Left knee touches. Left foot follows. Exhale. Big step. That's it. Stand all the way up on your inhale. And then as you exhale, bring your hands together back to your heart. Take a deep breath in. Long exhale out through the nostrils. Another big breath in through the nostrils. And exhale back out the nostrils. Bend your knees and move into chair pose, Utkatasana. Pick up your right ankle, put it on top of your left thigh in a figure 4 stretch. Drop your hips a little bit lower. And then put your right hand on the sole of your foot, left hand to hip. So the same hand to same foot. Same hand to same hip. So I think, Lisa, everybody's doing their own leg, and I think I may have done some funky instructions. But if I've got my top leg, my right leg on top, I'm going to put my right hand on my foot. There you go. So you'd be left. Now use your shoulder pulling back to open up into a twist. Very good. Very good. Nice Bogart. Excellent, Sam. Bring it back to neutral, both feet to the floor, and fold forward. Let's go back into chair pose. Inhale. Bring your other leg up on top. Half of us were on one side, half of us were on the other side. It's cool. And then whatever leg is on top, that same hand is going to go to the same foot, same hand to same hip as you pull this back. Now my secret is I'm going to keep my gaze forward and down to the floor. That helps me keep my balance, even though my elbow is sort of twisting my trunk back behind me. Yeah, exactly. Good. Excellent. And then bring everything back to the floor, end up in a forward fold position. Come up to a flat spine as you inhale. Step back into downward facing dog pose. And if you'd like to, move through a vinyasa. That's to say chaturanga on the exhale, cobra or an up dog on your inhale, and downward facing dog pose. If vinyasas aren't your thing, if chaturanga is not your thing, you can go straight to downward facing dog. Bending your knees, look forward to hands, and when you're ready to, exhale, hop, walk, step, feet to hands. Flat spine, breathe in, and exhale back to forward fold pose. Go back into Utkatasana, chair pose. Okay? So mirror me, put your right foot on top. Same figure 4 thing, and either we're going to hit the exact same pose, so hand to foot or hand to hip, or this time, put your elbow, same elbow, into the arch of your foot in a hands in prayer position and open up your chest this way, or expand that arm down to the floor, opposite hand to the sky. Yeah. Or hand to a block. Yes, we got hip opener, we got twist, we got balance, all this going on. Bring it back to neutral, place both feet to the floor in a standing forward fold pose. Nice. Good, long breath. Go back into chair pose, inhale. Okay, so this time left ankle on top. Now again, I find that the lower I bring my seat, the easier it is to keep my center, keep my gaze on one spot on the floor. And then, if I'm doing a deeper twist or whatever I've got, it just feels a little bit more compact, a little bit more controlled. These are some beautiful poses, everyone. Keep your breath going. Yeah. Did anybody find like one side is rocking, the other side's not so rocking, right? Welcome to humanity. Bring it back to neutral, I should say. Place feet to the floor. Go back into a forward fold pose. As you breathe in, find a flat spine, and then step or float to Chaturanga Dandasana. If it's more your style, go straight to downward facing dog pose instead. Yeah, I like the sound of the breath, everybody. It's awesome. Now, inhale, raise your right leg in the air and hold that pose for a couple of breaths. Keep your right hip square with your left hip. Yeah, nice. Great job keeping your arms parallel, shoulder square. This is great. Keep everything the same except bend your left knee to the standing leg. Leverages your femur head right into your hip socket. Everything's super solid. It's from the point of the ball of your left big toe that's going to be sort of the launch point forward. So when you exhale, press your right knee to chest and step your right foot fluidly up in between your hands. Yeah, awesome. Inhale, look forward, just lean forward. You're mostly there in this pose. Exhale, pyramid pose just for an exhale. Straighten your right leg a little. Inhale, bend your front knee again, look forward. And exhale, straighten your right leg a little. Or as much as you want to, as much as it feels good to do so. Inhale back and forth. Just kind of opening it, put a stretch in. Release the stretch, open the pose. Good. So the next time you inhale, bend your front knee up to right angle, raise your arms to the sky, crescent lunge position. Slight lift in the pubic bone gives a little stretch in the groin. Now, as you exhale, bring your hands behind you, interlace your fingers, straighten the arms, and bend your left knee almost to the floor as you look straight up toward the sky. Shoulder blades pull together. Squeeze as if to pull your legs together. Use some of your inner thigh strength to give a little bit of mojo to your quad strength. Good. Now, straighten both legs. And then bring your back leg forward back into this figure 4 stretch. Now this time I'm more hanging out with my elbows resting on my shin, palms turned open, to kind of really get into that hip stretch. Or if you want to, drop your triceps down to your shin, maybe even fingertips to the floor if you want to work toward our arm balance, Ekapada Galavasana. So if you speak Ekapada Galavasana, what you're going to do is essentially lean your triceps forward into your shins, weight onto your wrists, and pick up your bottom foot. Maybe send your top leg back. If you're not there already, ease your way out of this thing. From figure 4, set both feet to the floor, end up in a standing forward fold pose. Nicely done. Yeah, so we're just neutralizing now. We're standing forward fold, both feet on the ground, relaxing here a little bit, recovering for a couple of rounds of deep breath. As you breathe in, come to a nice long flat spine. Step or float into Chaturanga Dandasana or go straight to downward facing dog, depending on your pleasure. Move through a vinyasa if that's your game. Good. Now this time, as you inhale, raise your left leg in the air. With the foundation of a solid down dog, as you raise your left leg in the air, it's basically a variation on a theme. The hips stay square, shoulders stay square. The arms look great here, everybody. Now, everything's set. It looks amazing. Just bend your right knee a little bit. Bend the knee a lot, actually, yeah. And that's going to be the spring. You're going to set the spring to now spring the left foot forward between your hands. Yeah. Okay, so find a little mojo in your left leg. You're going to inhale, look forward. Exhale, straighten up your left leg a little. Inhale, bend your front knee and look forward. And exhale, straighten it out. Just go back and forth as you find alternating between stretch, strengthen, alternate muscles, quads, hamstrings. Be careful not to overdo it on either one. Just follow your breath. Going in and out of a pose or two, and then going in and out of these two poses following your breath is called vinyasa krama. It just kind of primes the energy to really move. Okay, so the next time you inhale, bend your front knee and reach your arms back up toward the ceiling for crescent lunge position. Straight and strong with the back leg. Lift through the pubic bone. See if you can get a little stretch in your back groin muscle. Good. Find your focus. Find your breath. Bring your hands behind you as you interlace your fingers now. Begin to straighten your arms a bit. And then inhale, bend your right knee so it almost touches the ground. Squeeze as if to pull your legs together. There's a finite amount of time we're going to be here. Just 2 more breaths. On that last breath, straighten both your legs. Give a little repose for that front leg. Release your back leg. Swing it around and come back into this funky chair pose. Now, I'm loving just hanging out here with my elbows on my shin, getting a little stretch in the right hip, similar to pigeon. I know the left leg is a little bit cooked, but if it feels good, you want to drop your triceps down to your shin. Good. If you want to bring your hands down to the floor. If you are going to go for the arm balance, make sure you hook your toes around the elbow, around your triceps. Look kind of forward. The best, most advanced pose is the one where you're listening to your body saying, yeah, is this right for me today? Good. Unwind. Place both feet back to the floor. End up in a forward fold pose and relax. So let's do a little bit of improvisation here. Whatever's going to feel good for you. Maybe shake your arms, maybe shake your head, maybe a couple breaths out your mouth. You can do whatever you want. One of the things I love to do in this pose is just walk my hands to the left, reach with my right arm and get into my lats a little bit. I think this feels very rejuvenating, feels really nice. And then, 4 or 5 breaths there, and then I switch into the other side. You might choose to just stay in a forward fold. Some people will clasp their forearms and get a little bit of a pull downward that way. Good. As you're ready to kind of neutralize whatever you've got, we're going to come back upright to a standing position. From a standing position, first find mountain pose. So bring your palms facing forward, kind of pull your shoulder blades back, feel a little lift in the sternum, and slightly draw tailbone to the floor. Nothing big, but you feel your abdominals slightly engaged, upper back slightly engaged. Now see if you can keep this feeling and just flex your right knee, hold on to your shin, and pull your thigh bone toward your chest a little bit. Bend your standing leg and straighten it out a little bit, not to the point of locking your knee, but that's your control right there. Okay? Now you're going to keep a hold of your right knee with your left hand and reach your right arm straight back behind you. So you've got left hand to right knee, right hand behind you. Alternatively, you could hold the outside of your right foot and maybe even straighten up your right leg. Now we're going to look back to the wall behind us. So we got twist, we've got a balance, we've got a stretch. Nice. Good. And then bring it back to neutral and relax. A little bit of, it's kind of a humbling pose sometimes. Like, I thought I was pretty hot stuff with this whole balancing thing, and then you throw this whole cross brain thing at me. So what I do, and I saw Sam kind of do this too, is I find one thing I'm going to look at, I'm going to go for the twist, and then I just, next thing I'm going to look at, instead of like, you know, one thing. Do like that ice skater thing they do, you know, whatever they do. I don't know. I'm not an ice skater. Spotty? Spotty. She knows. Okay, other side. So start off in Tadasana. And essentially this pose is just a variation on the theme, but a lot of the same muscles are engaged, right? So bend your left knee, hold on to your shin. Bend and straighten your standing leg. If things go awry, that's where you're going to come back into control. Nice, good. Mindfully, you don't lock out your knee. Now your right hand's going to stay hold of your left shin or knee, or the outside of your foot, depending if you want to go for the flexible thing. Okay? Think about the foot that's on the floor. If it's in your game plan, do a quick look back, find something else to look at. Nice, good, Meg. Awesome, Bogart, perfect. This is why it's called yoga practice instead of yoga perfect, because by practicing it, we've already arrived. Done. Good, bring it back to neutral. And release, spit down to the floor. Arms up in the air, everybody. Release with a sigh. And bring it back up. Bring it up, inhale. Take it forward on your exhale. Flat spine, inhale. And step or float into chaturanga on your exhale. You can always go straight to down dog if you've already met your daily quota of chaturangas. Right leg's going to lift in the air on an inhale. Left knee's going to bend. Exhale, right foot goes all the way forward between your hands. And then inhale, raise your arms to the sky, crescent lunge. Exhale, bring your hands behind you. Inhale, bend your left knee almost to the floor. And then exhale, cross left ankle over right thigh. Twist to your right. Bring it back to neutral. Hold right hand to left knee or right hand to left foot. Look forward, fold forward, and relax. Nice. Flat spine, inhale. Step or float to chaturanga, exhale. You're always welcome to go straight to down dog. Move through your vinyasa if that's your game plan. Raise your left leg when you're ready to inhale. Right knee bends a little. Exhale, left foot forward between hands. So crescent lunge as you're ready to. Big breath in. Exhale, bring your hands behind you. Inhale, bend your right knee. Exhale, release right ankle over left thigh and twist to your left. Bring it back to neutral. Left hand holds right knee or left hand holds right foot. Look back behind you. Look forward. And then release in a standing forward fold. Awesome. Beautiful, everybody. Nice. Step it back to downward facing dog pose or move through a vinyasa. As you inhale, raise your right leg back up in the air, bend your right knee up toward the ceiling. And so your right hip kind of stacks on top of your left hip, right? And you're either going to stay here kind of like in this fire hydrant pose, or if it speaks to you, you can flip your dog over into Kamatkarasana, so right big toe to the floor. Heart goes open to the sky. Use your legs pressing to the floor, nice Bogart, to lift your hips straight up in the air. Good. Flip back over to plank position, upper push-up, and roll to the outside edge of your right foot. Send your left arm to the sky for side plank. You can push your right knee to the floor for a little support. Now you're going to go all the way down into your left forearm. So flip back over, left forearm comes to the floor. Turn to the outside of your left foot. Raise your right arm to the sky. Now bend your right knee, point it up toward the ceiling, and hold your right kneecap with your right palm. So your right foot's floating off the floor. That's it. Good, Chris. Yeah, exactly. We're almost there. Hang with me. Both forearms come to the floor now as your toes walk toward your elbows into dolphin pose. As if it could not get any better. It just got better. Dolphin pose makes everything better. You're going to hold this for as long as you're loving it. Maybe it's already maybe it's already too long, but you're going to come into child's pose whenever you're ready, or cat-cow position. Hold it for as long as you love it, and then like B.B. King said, when the thrill is gone, the pose is gone, right? And then come back into child's pose or cat-cow position or whatever you got. Back to downward facing dog pose. Let's do this one more time, then we're going to get into some hip openers where we get a chance to relax a little bit more, or ground a little bit more. So nice and deliberate, raise your left leg in the air. Bend your left knee and open left knee upward toward the sky. Now that could be your pose, or in slow motion, rotate on the ball of your right pinky toe as your left big toe comes to the floor. Yeah, nice, Lisa, good. Hips lift up to the sky, heart opens up big, reach. I love it. Deliberately, slowly roll back over to plank. On your way to side plank, Vashisthasana, right arm to the sky. Good, stack one foot on top of the other or one foot in front of the other. Any variation you like, the starburst. Yeah, open up like an X. Now drop onto your right elbow. Roll to the outside of your right foot, send your left arm to the sky. And if you're game, bend your left knee, point it up to the sky, hold left kneecap with left palm, and arch the underside of your body away from the floor. Really using your strong obliques on the side. Here we go, we're almost there. Both forearms hit the floor. Walk toes to elbows as your hips lift high in the air. This is up to you. Hold dolphin for as long as you're loving dolphin. Keep your head relaxed, but not on the floor. Lovely. Ujjayi breath still a-moving, and we'll all meet sometime or other in child's pose whenever it works for you. By the way, all my friends in Croatia, they would absolutely, like, child's pose was a dirty word. You couldn't take a rest in class, And so, but you did have to hydrate, because if you don't hydrate, you die. So people would take a water break, they would not take child's pose. So I invented a pose called Yanasana, Yana being the Croatian word for water. So if you need to take a Yanasana, be my guest. So we're going to move our way into a pigeon pose, first by coming to hands and knees position. Knees kind of go wide, and we're going to start by doing a figure 8 pattern through the hips. So lean your butt over to the left side, swing it back around by your heels, big circles, and then swing your hips to the left, but forward and around by your wrists. So your pelvis is drawing this figure 8 in the air, really making good use of the lateral action of our spine. Get your shoulders involved, get the sideways motion of your spine moving. Feel your leg bones moving in their hip sockets. Now, the quick and easy version to pigeon is just from hands and knees. Slide your right foot forward, slide your left thigh back. Some people cannot come into pigeon unless they first come up into like their fire hydrant pose and then move it in there. It just doesn't feel right. Otherwise, God bless, whatever works for you, okay? Now, I like Chris's suggestion here. If it works so much better for you to just come down to your back and do your figure 4 stretch, same muscle group, different approach. And what I like to say is just use the right tool for the job, Like a craftsman isn't going to go try to nail down some baseboards by using a sledgehammer because it's the cooler tool. You know what I mean? They're going to use the right tool for the job. So if the job's calling for a lighter tool, take a lighter pose. Right? Use a block. Whatever pose you get to, find the balance between effort and ease. Respond to the information with long breath. Coming back to that initial inquiry, what are you most aware of in this moment? On your next exhale, make your breath a little longer. Give yourself about 3 more breaths in this pose. And if you could make yourself 10% more relaxed in this pose, do whatever you need to do to be 10% more relaxed. Now, if you have every intention of doing the other side on your back as well, and you're already on your back, release the posture, relax for a moment as you neutralize, and then switch sides. If you're in your regular pigeon position, come back to hands and knees. You might choose to neutralize by going back through your figure eights a couple more times, or you can come into down dog and shake out your legs, right leg, then left leg. Take your time getting into the left side. So whenever it works for you, slide your left knee forward toward wrist. Left knee more or less toward wrist. Slide your right thigh back. You're going to start off with a little stretch in the groin muscle of the back leg in the upright position. And then as it feels right, just kind of settle into a nice, easy pigeon pose. I really like to get this decadent stretch of the groin muscle in the upright version of the pose before walking elbows forward. If you're hanging out in this pose and what you're really aware of is that your body feels like it's resisting this in a major way, that's an invitation just to back off a little bit. Just, pump the brakes a couple of degrees, take a couple rounds of deep breath so that your nervous system feels like it doesn't have to fight anything. If anything, it feels like, what a pleasure to be in this pose. You drink it in with a couple rounds of deep breath. And then instead of fighting your body to be in the pose, your body's going to actually call out to you and say, this feels amazing. Let's actually go deeper in the pose. Let's get more of the stretch. Whatever your pose, make sure your breath is integral to the posture. Nice long exhales. Complete inhale. Good. And when you feel like this side feels complete with the other side, then neutralize the pose. You can just lie down on your back if you're already on your back, or come back through your downward facing dog pose or figure eight pose, whatever's going to work for you. So I want you to be thinking about an inversion, an upside down pose. And upside down poses can range from something fairly less energy intensive, like just send your legs up against the wall, or just hold your legs in the air. If you've got something to put your hips on, you could just do a supported shoulder stand, little lift of your sacrum, send the legs in the air, right? If shoulder stand or half shoulder stand is more of your style, then maybe roll up into a shoulder stand. I would suggest folding over your mat a little bit underneath your shoulders. Give yourself a little bit of that cushion. Half shoulder stand is really nice. All the weight goes down into your elbows. Feel free to move your mat toward a wall. If you're at home or even here, slide a mat to a wall. We got plenty of wall space here. Make sure you just set yourself up for success. I'm going to personally talk us through a headstand. So if anybody wants to do a headstand, you can follow what I'm doing. I'm going to start off with my elbows and my knees. Create a tripod by first clasping my biceps so that I get my elbows to be exactly shoulder distance apart. Then from there, interlace my hands as I cradle the top of my head in my hands with just above my hairline, literally touching the mat. Bring my hips up in the air, kind of like dolphin pose, but instead of keeping my head off the floor, I'm consciously grounding it to the floor. Walk my toes forward. One leg goes up in the air, and instead of kicking up, I just push my elbows into the floor and lift up into the pose. Once I come to be straight up and down, then I just let my weight transfer into the floor. It feels rather effortless. And again, when the thrill is gone, just come back down and relax. Keep your deep Ujjayi breath going, right? We're not trying to push through anything, nor are we trying to just buck up and stick with it, because, this is not a quid pro quo. We're not going to suffer now so we can get something else later. This program is more like, let's feel amazing now to feel even more amazing later. We're going to have our cake and eat it too. Now, a lot of us are doing either a supported shoulder stand or shoulder stand, bridge pose, or headstand. Those will all work really well to counter with fish pose, right? So if you feel like you are complete with your inversion, take a moment to just neutralize flat to the floor for a couple rounds of deep breath. And then if you know fish, go for it. I like to start up on my elbows, kind of looking forward down my sternum toward my big toes, pulling the shoulder blades together and broadening the chest. And this is really 90% of the posture. If I want to go a little bit deeper, then I'll walk the elbows toward the hips, tilt the top of my head to the floor, and give myself this sort of upper back bend, supported between sacrum and the crown. A lot of my weight still on my elbows. Deep breaths up into the sternum. Yeah. And then when it feels complete, lower down and rest neutral on the floor. Just relax for a couple rounds of deep breath. Now, again, this is sort of pre-Shavasana, different in that we're keeping Ujjayi breath going, but there's a real value to neutralizing pose. So this is a neutral pose, lying flat, letting the energy go from, deep contraction in a shoulder stand, deep expansion in fish pose, and now we just got to balance the energy. When you're ready to, lift your feet up off the floor, bend your knees, and keep your knees together. Open your arms like wings. And with your knees together, you're going to be making circles in the air with your knees. Just massage your back into the floor. If you've got a very sensitive lower back, then hold on to your kneecaps. I like to go super slow in this pose and take the time as I roll through my glutes, often very tight muscles. And by rolling through them, I get this nice release. Sometimes tension of the glutes causes tension of the lower back. It can keep malalignment in the SI joint where the hip bone meets the sacrum. So sometimes as I'm moving through this, I get this nice kind of alignment fix, which feels really nice. A couple times around in one direction, switch and go the opposite direction if you haven't already. And then as you're ready to, I'm going to let you put your feet to the floor, scoop your hips slightly to the right, and with your knees together, drop both knees to your left into a twist. Greet this twist with a nice fat inhale. And then an even longer exhale. Really exaggerate your exhale, like you're just melting into the mat. Release, let the inhale just come in naturally and easy. And then your job is this long exhale. And then relax, just let the inhale move in. Your job is the exhale. After about 4 or 5 of those breaths, I want you to bring your knees back up and switch sides. Your hips are going to scoot slightly to the left as you drop your knees to the right. Or the opposite direction, whichever way you didn't go the first time. And again, coming back to this quintessential question, what are you most aware of in this moment? Even if what you're aware of is the fact that your mind is thinking about work or something else, it's actually a really great awareness. You can actually be present with the fact that you're thinking about something else. So you're going to come back to neutral and do anything your body needs to do to finish our practice today. I'm going to lead us through a guided relaxation experience. I'm calling a sanctuary practice. So if there's any other poses your body feels like it needs to do, go for it. Set yourself up for success if you need to get something on to be warm or put something over your eyes. COVID masks double perfectly as eye masks too, I've come to realize. So what we've been doing all evening here is the practice of yoga. And the practice of yoga is designed to set the conditions right for the experience of yoga to happen. The experience of yoga to happen is a little bit more ephemeral. You can't necessarily control the experience of yoga, but the experience is something we've all experienced. It's our origin, it's what we come from. It's that feeling of oneness, it's that feeling of connection with all things. Maybe we experienced that when we're on the perfect hike, perfect company, and everything just feels amazing. Or we just have the pleasure of witnessing a new life come into this earth, right? Or the pleasure of seeing somebody, a loved one, pass on, right? And having those moments, those rich moments of extreme clarity brings us to that feeling of the oneness. That is the experience of yoga. Take a deep breath in. Send it out your mouth. Relax. Oftentimes, that experience of yoga is nothing new. It's a rediscovery. It's really our origin, so it feels like the most natural thing ever. Well, we can engineer feeling that natural sense of oneness by just evoking our senses with what I call the sanctuary practice. And all we're going to do is I'm going to lead you through a visualization that will kind of open you up to feel the way you most naturally feel. Even if my words fade into the distance and, kind of turns into like that Charlie Brown, that's fine. Just listen to my words, let them take you wherever they're going to take you. So as you're lying here, and if you could relax maybe 10% more than you're relaxed in this moment, do whatever it takes to get just a little bit more relaxed. And for the rest of this practice, nothing is supposed to happen, and nothing is not supposed to happen. I'm going to invite you to simply welcome whatever occurs, acknowledge it for what it is, call it a thought, call it a sensation, evocation of your senses, and I'm going to invite you to just be the witness. Where is a place that you absolutely love to be? Where is a place that just makes you feel completely alive? Now, this place could be real or imaginary, at a time that is real or imaginary. But we're going to bring it alive in this moment by using our senses. Again, where is a place that makes you feel alive? Maybe in love or at peace or excited or creative. It can be different every time you practice this, but start to fill in the details, not as if you're remembering it, but you're seeing it, feeling it, hearing it in this moment. Is this place indoors or outdoors? Let the scene come alive in your awareness. Are you by yourself or are you with other people? Are there animals around? Are you in nature? Are you in an urban environment, indoors or outdoors? And then start by really noticing the things you can see in your sanctuary, in this scene, in this sanctuary, this place where you can feel so alive. What do you see? Trace the shapes in the eyes of your awareness. See those colors. Maybe choose 4 or 5 different objects and see their colors, the different hues of the colors, the different shades. See the textures. If there's other people, see their faces, the color of their skin and their hair, their clothes. Now, as you're breathing, notice the scent, notice the smell of this scene. Without trying to breathe, just allow that scent to move inside of you and quicken every cell of your body. Allow that smell to move in and open you up. Choose another smell that you would also experience in this scene and allow that smell to come in and make you feel alive. Now hear the sounds of this scene. What do you hear? Is there a sound of nature, quietness, music, laughter, perhaps the sound of your own breath? Allow those sounds to enter into the ears of your awareness. Allow the tastes of the scene to light up your mouth. What do you taste? To delight in your senses. Welcoming whatever arises in your field of awareness. What does your body feel in the scene, in your sanctuary, vis-a-vis temperature? The sensation of your skin, contact with nature, with another person. Are you warm or cool? Are you wet or dry? Do you feel lightness or pressure? Now, what is the emotion you feel in your sanctuary? Is it love, excitement, contentment, peace, connection? Maybe a cocktail of all of those. Like turning on a switch, allow yourself the freedom to just bring that emotion to the surface. Notice where you feel that emotion. Is it in your belly or in your chest, in your throat? Whatever naturally and spontaneously occurs vis-a-vis images, emotions, sensations. If it feels safe, welcome, recognize, and witness. Just evoke the pleasure of your senses. And take a moment to notice how you feel in this moment. Through this process, you didn't give yourself anything you didn't already have. Either the visualization of this sanctuary or the real life experience of the sanctuary, both are a metaphor for experiencing this part of you that always is. This is your most natural way of being. Sometimes it gets layered by stress or worry or fatigue. But as you are present to your senses, you remember. You can come back here whenever you'd like. Notice what you're aware of. Do this beautiful practice for all of our poses, our breathing, this visualization. Inasmuch as we've been able to practice this presence, we've practiced being ourselves. So I'm going to ring the bell in a moment, and that will signal the end of this guided visualization, this sanctuary practice. So take a moment, give yourself a couple rounds of deep breath. Move fingers and move toes. Remember, the sanctuary lives inside of you, so, you've got the timeshare and the ability to teleport here whenever you want to. As you're ready to roll over to one side, give yourself a moment and then come back upright to a seated pose whenever you're ready. Take your time, and when you do come up to a seated pose, either with your hands in your knees or hands to heart, give yourself a couple rounds of your Ujjayi breath. I want to thank you so much for coming to practice today, everybody. Those of you who are joining us live, those of us who are joining live and online, those who might be watching this later. You're welcome to join me with an Om or just listen. Here we go. Beautiful work, everybody. Namaste.